takes all my best
Almost.
videos, but I mean,
All the way. Almost. There we go. Get your hand over. There we go. You just want him to pull his hand. Okay.
That's all it is.
That way he's stable.
And that
Get
was
him
one of
back
my
just a
better
little bit.
videos.
Little bit. There you
And
go,
it's like,
kid.
it's clear, there's some movement.
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
use
Okay,
different.
guys,
This
just
one
understand,
yeah, I use
feeding a
different
wild
music
alligator
on
is
Instagram.
illegal and dangerous. Feeding an alligator, what we're doing
It's
here,
on YouTube Shorts.
is not illegal, but it is dangerous. Okay, so please don't ever try to copy the things that we do. You know, we are professionals. We've done this stuff for years. I just want you all to enjoy, but don't copy it. Okay, because we care about you. We want you to learn, and we've been working with reptiles for a long time. And this is all about sharing what we know and what we feel with you. That's the whole point. And this alligator is in a rescue situation. We're here at a wildlife rescue, and he's special. We've even got peacocks, you know, for audio background effects. You know, this is legit operation we got going here. All right, we're gonna set up our camera and get rolling. Isn't he, cutie?
All right, so as you can see, we're going back and forth with a mic, so this will all be edited in post so it looks nice, crisp, and clean. But we are with Thunder, and Thunder is an American alligator. And we are currently at the Everglades Outpost in Homestead. Is it Homestead still?
Homestead, Florida, yeah.
So
while you're talking, you want me to go in there and just play with him a little bit?
Sure, we can do that. So Tyler's going to get up and do a little playing around with him. He is, how long is he?
He's 12 feet and change.
12 feet and change. And he, as you can see, is super chill. Even though he's super chill, that does not mean that he is not dangerous. He is still a freaking alligator.
Of course. Now, just like all animals, each alligator has personality. You guys want one of the boogers? Send it to you as a gift.
He's picking its nose right now.
Just a little bit. He's got some boogies.
His tail is
Soft.
well.
On the top is hard, so those are the osteoderms. He knows all about that stuff. So, Dean knows a lot about reptiles. He told me he hasn't spent a lot of time like this close to a large alligator. It's a beautiful boy. Dude,
His tail is thicker than my head.
his tail is literally as thick as the full body of most gators. So most alligators, and for those of you that have never worked with an alligator or maybe you just want to learn, so I would just touch the tail for now. Where the tail meets, oh, you were just comparing size.
Yeah, comparing size.
So where the tail meets the hip here, the under the thighs, the hamstring of the gator, the hamstrings are extremely sensitive on an alligator where it meets the tail. And that's where other gators will bite a gator to start a fight. So when you touch the tail, touching it back there is not a big deal. Touching it in the middle might get his attention or irritate him a little, depending on how he's feeling today. And then this is most always, I want you to move or I want you to fight with me. So that's why whenever I have to touch him here to get him to maybe scooch over because I need to grab something or I need to apply medicine to his legs, I am very, very, very gentle when I have to touch him there. So the point I was making about most alligators you guys are gonna experience if you ever work with one, you volunteer for a reptile rescue like I used to do when I was younger. So we are actually at that very reptile rescue right now, and I am the main caretaker of this animal. He is my best buddy, and we made a huge connection where I work with alligators professionally. But anyway, to get to the point, most gators you'll ever see in general, American alligators are going to be between 6 to 8 feet long and weigh from 180 to about 280 pounds. That's going to be 90% of the American alligators you ever see. And so this alligator has been measured at just over 12 feet long, and estimated to be over 700 pounds. Now, a lot of people, they tell me, oh, that's crazy. Oh, I don't believe that. This animal has almost no fat on its body. Those thick neck muscles alone weigh, you know, a whole lot. And then all of these bones on his back are about 3 times as dense as concrete. And there's 200, so those are called scutes. Educated individuals can call them osteoderms, bone, skin, and Greek, in case you guys are taking notes. And they layer like the armor of a samurai. Okay, I'm talking way too much.
No, you're not.
We'll pass you the talking stick.
But you know, Tyler, all his stuff is, we'll obviously have it linked down below, but he does a lot of work with Thunder here. He also does alligator wrestling shows. And when I say wrestling, you know, you get a certain, you've seen videos on the internet of people wrestling, and it's just Tyler's show, and we're going to have bits and pieces of it scattered, because I did a whole recording of it as well, and he obviously loves those animals. Those are different alligators than this. He does not wrestle Thunder here.
Yeah, this is like, I'm basically Thunder's butler and his buddy. That's basically it. Like the alligators that I work with at work, you know, basically my coworkers are alligators, which is crazy to think about. They're not the same personality as Thunder. We don't have the same rapport because those alligators have been handled by a lot of people. And people are not always, like, those gators came from other parks, and people are not always like super nice when they're handling an alligator because they're afraid of it, and people's fear will cause them to mishandle it sometimes. Now, the guy that does the shows when I'm not there, he does a great job. He's very gentle on the gator. Okay, so the gators that I work with at the Everglades Alligator Farm, they have damn good lives. And a lot of people, they feel bad because they think that the animals are being abused. And you know what? At some parks that I've worked at, it's sketchy because sometimes the way people handle them is not super regulated. But at least where I work, thanks to some people that taught me the basics of how I handle the gators in a super gentle way, Christopher Gillette, learned from him. And yeah, he taught me a whole lot. And I've taken what he's taught me and I've brought it to the next level with this animal right here. Okay? So Thunder and I have a pretty special mutual respect. You don't want to call it a relationship or a friendship because the animal almost always thinks about maybe taking a chomp out of you. And then sometimes he won't. So he'll think about biting you and then he probably won't sometimes. So it's not like, oh yeah, let me just lay next to him. Sometimes I've posted videos that are a little bit risky and I don't want people to think that I'm stupid. I also don't want them to think that this is not a dangerous creature. But I figure already most people think that way. Most people will know that this is a dangerous creature without me having to like talk down to you and be like, oh, just so you know, he's not a pet. Because he's not a dog, he's not a cat.
How old is he?
He's probably in his 40s. Now, how do you know how old the alligator is? Do you know that?
That I do not.
So you actually have to take a chainsaw. You chop the tail in half, and you count the rings inside like a tree. I'm just kidding. That's a bad joke. I like all my jokes. Pretty bad. So anyway, alligators, I don't know if you guys know this. So an alligator's head is rock hard because there's not a lot of skin around it. Not a lot of flesh there. So when they fight each other and bite each other in the head, guess what? They're going to be okay. But the alligators, having not a lot of flesh around their head and it's just solid bone with the like paper thin skin on it. If you took a rock and you painted it, that's how thick their skin is. So if it gets damaged, it heals up pretty quick. There's not a lot of flesh to be healed up. Now, as the alligator ages, their bone breaks down. It expands. Porous membranes, okay, are form in the bone tissue. So what we call that is osteoporosis, porous bone. Your bone starts to break down and expand. It gets less dense. So what does that mean? That means for old humans, we get swollen ankles, okay, swollen wrists. We get bone aches as we get older. Our bones are starting to break down, right? Alligators have such a dense bone structure and such little flesh on their face that as they age, the skull starts to swell, and his head is going to be about that big when he's in his 60s. So right now he's probably in his 40s. Based on his size, his demeanor, alligators, as they age, they get a little bit meaner and grumpier sometimes, a little grouchy.
So, are any of the gators that you get in the Everglades Alligator Farm, are those nuisance gators?
80% of those gators are nuisance alligators that are brought from Everglades Holiday Park. Everglades Holiday Park is a non-for-profit alligator rescue, and they had the show Gator Boys on Animal Planet for quite a while. It was on Netflix too. It's pretty great show, especially for anyone that just really likes gators, reptiles, whatever. They did python catches and stuff. So when I was a teenager, I actually saw the show on TV, and I always liked catching snakes as a kid. So my dad told me to go down and volunteer for them and see if they would take me in. And that was where I got started working with Chris Gillette. Now, Paul Bedard is the leader of the Gator Boys, and he's the one that brought their gator rescue to the Animal Planet, and got the TV show Gator Boys off the ground. So that was his baby. Now, Paul is a nuisance alligator trapper. If you want to meet him someday, I can get you to. He's a super cool guy. He makes a lot of like funny jokes that you might not be able to post all of them because they're a little, but he's funny.
Those are the best, though.
Yeah, exactly. So he's great, and he catches a lot of gators, not necessarily always this big, but he's caught gators this big. He's got mostly 6 and 7 footers out of people's swimming pools, or someone was feeding it in the community lake, whatever, and it's been chasing people's dogs. So he goes out there and catches them so they don't get killed. He is a non-kill trapper. Trappers that kill gators are paid for the skin and meat that comes from when they kill the gator. Paul does not get money from him trapping.
There's a donkey in the background.
A donkey and a peacock and probably Bigfoot back there somewhere. We got just about everything.
Now,
here.
look, when you mentioned that he's a non-kill trapper, what percentage of trappers you think are non-kill?
I think it's like 3%. So there's on average 10,000 nuisance gators a year in the state of Florida, on average.
And most of them are killed.
90% of them die.
Yeah. I've talked about this before. Actually, very recently, there was a 10-foot gator that was in a pond at I don't remember the exact mall, but it was at a pond in the mall. It didn't attack anybody. There was nothing. It just happened to be a big alligator in this pond. And FWC captured it and sent it to, relocated is what the news said. Well, I looked into it and I asked FWC, what do you mean by relocated? And they gave me the name of the company, and it was a processing plant. AKA, that gator's dead.
And they said it was caught by...
It was caught by it was caught by somebody. I don't remember who, honestly.
So
this
FWC didn't remove it themselves? But
no, I don't believe FWC did.
Okay.
They hired a trapper to do it, and then but I contacted FWC about it to ask what happened to it, because they were involved in some way. That's how I found out about it, because it was in the news and FWC was being interviewed. And then I think they had a trapper out there. It was something along those lines.
They hired a private trapper.
I don't know the exact details.
Okay.
All I know is that FWC was involved, and that there was also, I believe, a trapper involved. But it made the news. That's the only reason I heard about it. And because it made the news, I contacted FWC to ask them what happened to it, because I remember them being involved. And they told me, they gave me the name of the company that it was sent to. So they know that it was sent to a processing plant.
And what did it say on the news?
That it was relocated, safely relocated. And that's the thing, is like whenever they say stuff like that, that just means that it's gone to the farm in the sky. That's all that means.
Yeah.
That's all that means. And most of them say that whenever they talk about relocating. Oh. Oh no, he's gonna try to eat you.
Beautiful.
Nuisance. What constitutes a nuisance alligator by law?
By law, a nuisance alligator is just an alligator that's causing some kind of problem. It doesn't even have to be the alligator's fault. It could be some, how do I say this nicely? Person that feeds a wild alligator. And any gator over 4 feet is strong enough to kill you. It's not gonna, but it could, you know? So that's why I always say, I'll say this straight to my customers' faces. You know, I try to be very honest and a little edgy so that way they remember the show. I say, don't be stupid, which, you know, this is Miami, South Florida area. People come here and make bad decisions on like a professional scale, okay? So we got a bunch of people that come down here, or it's locals. Either way, okay? We got people in Miami that make bad decisions. They think, you know, there's no consequences. They're here, they're drinking, it's hot out, they're having fun, whatever. So they feed a wild alligator, and then the alligator could even attack and kill somebody. It would be their fault, or it could hurt them because they're feeding it, or it just starts approaching people and they shoot it. So in no way is that a good thing to, you feed a gator in the wild. It's illegal, obviously. People don't always get arrested for it. That makes it a nuisance alligator. If it's just approaching people and there's no evidence that someone was feeding it, it's still registered as a nuisance alligator, even though most alligators that I've ever met, I met thousands at different parks. Nuisance alligators that had to be locked away in captivity for life, because that's the law. Once you get it in captivity, you cannot release it. He's just getting comfortable?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was distracted by the iguana or basilisk or something like that in the tree.
Iguana. There's a million green iguanas on the property. Thunder occasionally eats one.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
I'll just see like a tail sitting by the pond. Yeah. The thing is, alligators don't need water to stay wet. Their skin is non-permeable. It doesn't breathe. So that's why they get hot really fast in the sunshine. So the alligators go to someone's pool when it's fed by a person, when it attacks someone's dog, ends up in their swimming pool because they need to get out of the heat. That's what they stay in the water for, to survive. And then there's a couple others. You know, some fisherman was feeding it off the dock, or it started, there's a lot of boat ramps where there's a lot of human activity, and boat ramp is like the perfect hunting ground for an alligator because they can get in and out of the water easy. So for gators and crocs, sometimes at boat ramps, they'll have to constantly remove gators from those areas, and that sucks. And that's it. That's it. Or sometimes, get this, the gator is in a lake way behind their house. Not doing anything. It's in a lake. An alligator. Wow. That's a brilliant concept. An alligator is existing way over there, not in your yard, in a lake. It's gonna kill my kids and eat my dog. Alligators eat things the size of their mouth. The only time they eat something bigger than that is when you do something stupid that makes it easy for them. That's it. Like what I do. I do lots of stupid things to get people's attention so they want to learn about this creature, and then people will want to save it. That's the whole point.
So what you're saying is that as long as the gator is over 4 feet long and seems that it could be a potential threat to somebody.
Not a threat, a potential threat. Use the right words there, yeah.
Potential threat. Then it can be constituted as a nuisance alligator and can be removed, and most of those animals that are removed are just sent to the meat grinder.
Yes, and I'll tell you why they don't just remove it and put it somewhere else. It's not just for the sole purpose of making money, but this is a concept that is real. We took Thunder and we brought him up to Georgia, you know, on the Florida-Georgia line, and let him go. And he really likes it in his pond, and he likes the cream on his feet and the soft carpet and, his local girlfriend, whatever. He'll be back here in 3 weeks. They slowly walk and slowly swim, hour in and hour out, until they're at this exact location. And how do they find the exact location? Celestial circumnavigation is what alligators use to make it across vast migrations from one place to another to get back to the exact same spot. So he'll look at the moon every night while he's traveling and know exactly how to make it back to where we are sitting now, from states away.
If I'm not, I believe that a few months ago, I also talked about this a little bit. There was a American crocodile that was removed from right down the road here, not too far at all. It was in the park, and it was, I don't remember the exact reason why it was removed, but it was removed a bit north. And over the course of a few weeks, again, was radio tagged, so they could see the exact points. It literally went, it was a couple hundred miles away. It was dropped off. I believe it was up the East Coast a little bit. And it made its way back down to the exact spot that they captured it in like a couple months. But it slowly got there, but it just kept on going until it was in the exact spot that it was taken from. Like, and this is, I got to pull up that because there's a video that they did where it showed each little individual light point of where it went. And yeah, it went back and forth in certain areas, but then sure enough, it just went down to the next little bit and the next little bit and then right back to where it was. And there's so many instances of that kind of stuff happening. I mean, cats do kind of the same thing, maybe not in the exact same way. Think about bird migrations, and they know exactly where to go. Turtles out in the middle of the fucking ocean, and then all of a sudden they are back to where they were born whenever they have eggs. Like, it's incredible the amount of sophistication that goes into, like, they probably I don't even think they would think about it. It's just a natural instinct. All right, we got to go this way.
Their brains are this big. They say it's the size of a walnut before you crack it. I mean, that's for them to do that kind of work up here. But then at the same time, a dung beetle can't see in front of it. A dung beetle walks backwards with the dung ball.
And still gets to where it
And
needs
still
to go.
gets exactly where they need to go. And they use celestial circumnavigation as well. And that animal's got a really small brain. So it might just be instinct. I mean, some alligators, okay, the smartest alligator I ever met was figuring me out before I had figured him out. So it's safe to say that that alligator was outwitting me around every corner. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. With the brain about that big, and my brain's about, I'm kidding. So my brain's about this big, like most people's, I would hope. What is all of the extra stuff we got going on for? Figuring out how to start up your iPhone and, you know, floss your teeth, build communities. Is that it?
Well, we have instincts, but most of us don't follow them anymore. We don't have to follow them anymore. So we just go, that's a bad vibe. That's a bad feeling. I don't like that. That's basically what it comes down to now. I mean, some people, we've just use it to or lose it sort of thing. There's plenty of people who have lost it because they never used it in the first place. And there are people who use it all the time, and you can tell they have a lot more instincts than the average person. Man, he is, every single time he moves, I don't think y'all realize this, he is just, his tail is most of my body. If not, he is absolutely enormous. His body around, like, I'm not a small dude. He's got, like, you could lay 2 to 2.5 of me on top of each other and it wouldn't be as tall as his body is laying flat on the ground.
No. Yeah, he's monstrous, but he's a gentle giant, just like you did. He's a gentle giant.
One of the things that I noticed last year was that the average amount of people that are unalived due to alligator attacks in the state, again, this is an average, and this is just specifically Florida, I believe is 2 was the average for the longest time. But I mean, there would be years where there was none. Then there would be a year where there was multiple. Well, over the past 2 years, I believe there's been close to 6 or 7 for the last 2 years that have happened. And some of them have been really big things. Some of them might not have been the alligator itself, but it was snacking on the person, like that happened in my hometown. with the lady who was in the water with. I don't know if you
Oh,
heard
like
about that.
yeah, half of a person that was found in a
Yeah,
gator's mouth, but she had died before that even
but that
happened.
literally happened right by where I grew up. So like I went into that creek. Point is that the average is going up, and or at least the numbers over the past couple of years are kind of at a high, and I think there's a correlation and causation effect. One of them, if you've noticed, or unfortunately, old ladies walking their dogs near the water. That seems to be the part of the numbers. I don't, we can think of a couple that.
I can't bite my tongue any longer. Okay, for those of you that are not from Florida, that are out there watching this weird conversation two dudes are having in front of a giant gator. Florida has a lot of people that are either terrified of gators or think that they're puppies. It's like it's a bloodthirsty killer or it's a tame swamp puppy. Okay? And it's neither. It's both always, okay? And the only way it's going to be one way or the other is if you don't piss it off, then it's a puppy. Then it's a puppy. And if you are instigating it or if you're walking your little dog by the water. So here we go. I do gator shows at the Everglades Alligator Farm, and I had this one customer come up to me, God bless him, and I tell people during the feedings, I feed the gators there behind the fence or whatever so people can see how cool it is. So this gentleman came up to me and he's like, I heard, because people love to share their stories. I like that. I want people to be engaged. These animals fascinate me. Why can't they share their story if we could share ours? So he comes up and he's like, now I heard that this older lady actually was able, she didn't get killed. A gator, this one, a gator chased after, so this is multiple people this is happening to. This is not once in a while. This is like, it's too often, okay? So the gator chased after this lady walking her dog too close to the water, and the lady fought the gator somehow and got the gator away and was able to save her dog because the dog only had one bite on it. Okay, and he's like, oh, it's so impressive.
Oh, just like the dude who jumped in the water after his dog after the little 2-footer grabbed it and he had the cigar in his mouth and they're like, he's a hero.
Yeah, real heroic to put your dog in harm's way. So, and that's the point I'm getting to. He's like, oh yeah, this lady is so brave because she defended the dog from the big bad gator. I get it, okay? And I told him, I looked him right in his eye, with all the respect, I hope, and I said, that doesn't impress me at all, and I'll tell you why. You know what impresses me? Intelligence. Not, because I believe dogs are part of your family. So to me, that's like taking your kid, your small child, by the water where alligators actively hunt small creatures. Okay? So that'd be like if I were living in Africa and I left my child unattended by the one shade. Okay, so what water is to a gator is what shade is in Africa to a lion. So if you leave your child by the shade and it's like a little oasis, oh, you know there's predators in there waiting for things to come and get a drink or get some shade, and they'll kill it, okay? Alligators are waiting for animals to come get water and freaking nail them for a free lunch. So I think, of course, how could you not know this? That's why we're doing this interview. That's why we do what we do, to keep people safe, to keep the dogs safe, so we can share our experiences and our perspective, and maybe it gets you in a certain way where you can share this, because this is real stuff. People are dying. Gators are getting shot when they don't need to be. And this is when I need to take a step back, because I'm getting a little...
No, I mean,
getting a little ripped up here, all right?
Riffed up, nice. It is a big issue. And you know, the gators are always going to be blamed for it. And people are like, well, there's like over 1 million alligators in the state of Florida. There's plenty of them. Their numbers are fine. And it's like, that's not the point. They have come a long way, but part of the problem is that we're going to have more and more of these issues because development has come in and is destroying the state. We want to talk about environmental issues, and I completely agree. We need to talk about environmental issues. If we can do stuff to stop the destruction of habitat, and whether it be climate change or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. None of that matters if the animals aren't going to have a place to live. And with all of the stuff going on right now, like right down the road, Robert is here. It's a huge, it's a huge fruit stand. Last time I was down here was, I mean, it was less than a year ago. I don't remember the exact time frame it was. It was something like, it was a few months back.
Yeah.
Anyway, get down here. It's a big open field. And now what is it?
Townhomes, cookie cutter houses, $300,000 minimum. I love this economy, by the way. Thanks for that. So anyway, the homes, the townhomes, whatever, the house without a soul. Okay, that's what they're putting in there, and they're not cheap, and they're putting them all over the place. Which means what? In order for them to have all these people now in this, okay, it was all farm. And there's this great fruit stand that's like even famous in Europe. It's just this little fruit stand. Robert is here. It's great. We got the milkshakes right here. Okay? So what I want you to understand is now what was something beautiful and natural? I mean, I wouldn't call farmland natural, but it's something. Snakes and foxes live there. It's something. Okay? Torn down. Animal rescues are next.
It's just everything is being bought up and developed, no matter where it is. I mean, especially in this state. I mean, it doesn't matter. I live all the way up in Brooksville. I live, almost 6 hours north of here. And it's like, Florida's a big place. Every single bit of Florida you go through right now is being developed. Every town, every city, everything is being developed to such an extent that there's not going to be much left in the next 20 to 30 years if at this rate. Like, COVID made things worse. COVID exacerbated the problem because a ton of people wanted to move down here because Florida's a great place. I love this state. This is my home state, and I will never leave. But there has to be something done with the sheer amount of habitat destruction that's going on. Places like Babcock Ranch, which have a ton of Florida panthers, because unbeknownst to a lot of people, Florida panthers just don't stay in the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge. They go all over the place. They keep on trying to say that there's no Florida panthers, nor females, that is, north of the Caloosahatchee River, because if they did, then they'd have to protect a lot more land. Well, they are, and they're being killed every single year as far north as freaking Lakeland along the I-4 corridor. Like, they are expanding their range, which is good, but it's hard because if you start emitting that stuff, you have to do more to protect these animals. And like we have the laws with gopher tortoises, you have to remove them, and it can cost upwards of $6,000 per permit depending on the situation. You can't build within 20 feet of a burrow, and there's like all these little rules and stipulations. And what happens? Do you think they're removed?
Not on camera.
Not on camera. They kill them. They bulldoze them over. They pretend like they're not there. And it happens every single day. All of this stuff to protect the wildlife and the things that we are supposed to be advocating for and to make sure stay around are being destroyed by developments and habitat fragmentation. Soon enough, the problem is that a lot of these animals can survive in tiny little bits in pieces of land and parks and stuff that are in, busy cities and neighborhoods. We got rattlesnakes in the middle of Pinellas County, all in the parks. They can handle the habitat fragmentation. Some of these animals, though, like the indigo snake as an example, the indigo snake is a big one. They cannot handle the habitat fragmentation. The gopher tortoises will live in the middle of a neighborhood if they got a little plot of land, but every plot of land is being destroyed. And it's disgusting.
Thunder doesn't want any part of this political conversation. He stays out of politics because he knows the second that
you see he's got a little boner going on there.
Stop. Don't talk about my son like that. Red Rocket, Red Rocket. All right, everybody. My name is Riff. One last time, this is Thunder. Now, if you guys want to actually interact with him, you'll be able to get about this close. Now, you're not going in his water like me. But Thunder is a really sweet gator. He's a good guy, okay? Now, the thing is, I want people to get close to him, to interact with him, and be part of his life. This is a very special opportunity. Now, if you want to get this close to Thunder and feed him, you even get a chance to even pet his tail. This is a giant 12-foot gator who's an absolute sweetheart. If you guys are in the Everglades, you're in the Miami area, and you want a chance to feel the thunder, let us know at riffencounters@gmail.com. We'll get you set up with an unforgettable experience, feeding and petting this beautiful creature. He's just asking for food. Don't mind him. He's a little cutie pie. I love him, and he doesn't love me back, but I'm okay with that. These encounters are at the Everglades Outpost Wildlife Rescue. Now, you guys aren't going to be in the pool with him, but you are going to be feeding him, and you'll be able to actually touch the animal at a very regulated way, okay? And you'll get amazing photos, and I want you guys to connect with this animal. I want you to feel what I feel and see what I see. And that's what we're all about here. Again, I'm Reptile Riff, that's Thunder, and we'll see you later, alligator.